Next, we are going to see about the sexual reproduction in humans. So, we saw the sexual reproduction in plants and the other types of reproduction in plants. Next, we are going to see about the reproduction, sexual reproduction in human. In human, there is no vegetative or asexual reproduction. Only sexual reproduction is there. So, we are going to see the sexual reproduction in step by step in detail. So, first what is said, in humans, male and female organs differ anatomically and physiologically. So, in humans, the male reproductive organ and the female reproductive organ will be different anatomically. To the internal structure also they will be very different, and physiologically the outer appearance also will be different, and the internal structures also will be different from male to female. There is no similarities. New individuals develop by the fusion of gametes. So we know fusion of gametes, fusion of male and female gametes is known as sexual reproduction. So here also to produce a new individual, the fusion of gametes takes place. In plants also you saw these two sperm cells from the androecium, the pollen reaches the ovule and they fertilize, the double fertilization takes place. Likewise in human also what happens, the fusion of gametes take place to form into new individuals. Next is sexual reproduction. Fusion of haploid gametes to form diploid individual. What happens? Two haploid. Haploid means n number. So only one gamete is present. One male gamete and one female gamete. Haploid male gamete and haploid female gamete. What happens? It fuses to form diploid individual, 2n individual. N and N forms 2n. So that is what is said sexual reproduction. Now we are first moving on to the reproductive organs. What are the organs involved in reproduction and how they are being classified? So first is reproductive organs have been divided into primary sex organs and secondary sex organs or accessory organs. Primary sex organs and secondary sex organs or accessory organs. Under primary sex organs in male, the testis is being mentioned. In under male, the primary organ, sex organ is the testis. Whereas in female, the ovaries are the primary sex organs. So these both are the primary main organs responsible for reproduction. Whereas the secondary sex organs, the other organs, excluding these both organs in male and female, the other organs that are involved for reproduction, those all come under the secondary sex organs or accessory sex organs. So in male, the vas deferens, penis, seminal vesicle. So all these parts comes under the secondary sex characters. In female, the fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, cervix, all these comes under in female as the secondary sex organs. So the primary sex organs are these are totally responsible for the reproduction. The other organs come under the secondary sex organs. Next, we are moving on to the secondary sex organs are structures which are involved in. So these are various processes. So the structures that are involved in these processes are considered as secondary sex organs. First is process of ovulation. Process of ovulation means when the egg from the ovary moves on to the uterus. So that is called as process of ovulation. So that is due to ovulation only the what happens, the egg from the ovary moves on to the uterus. That process is called as ovulation. The time period that is being taken is called as ovulation period. So the organs involved in this process comes under the secondary sex organs. Likewise, the fusion of male and female gametes. So the organs that are used for the fusion of male and female gametes, those all also come under the secondary sex organs. Then division of fertilized egg to form zygote. So after being fertilized, after being fused and fertilized, and how they form into an embryo. From zygote, how they form into an embryo. That process, the organs that are involved comes under secondary sex organs. Next is pregnancy. When a human being is getting pregnant, what happens? What are the organs involved for pregnancy? And development of fetus. So, how a baby develops, the organs that are used for the development of a baby or fetus. So, those organs also comes under secondary sex organs. And finally, childbirth. The organs that are involved to give birth to a child, for a child to be born, the organs that are involved, those also comes under secondary sex organs. So, these are the secondary sex organs involved processes. So, I will give you a recap from the first. First, we saw the post-fertilization changes. That means after fertilization, what happens? The ovules develop into a seed. The integuments of the ovule develop into a seed pod, and ovary enlarges and develops to form a fruit. Then we are moving on to the sexual reproduction in human beings. So in all these videos we saw in plants, next we are going to see the sexual reproduction in human. So in humans, what happens? The male and female reproductive organs are different anatomically and physiologically. Internally also they are very different. Externally also they are very different. New individuals are being formed by the fusion of male and female gametes. Then fusion of haploid gametes to form diploid individual. So fusion of haploid male gamete and haploid female gamete to form diploid individual. So that is called as sexual reproduction. And the reproductive organs have been divided into two types. The primary sex organ, in male it is testis and in female it is ovary. Then secondary sex organs, other than these both organs, all the organs comes under secondary sex organs. In male, vas deferens, penis and seminal vesicle, and in female, fallopian tube, uterus, vagina, all those things comes under secondary sex characters. So the secondary sex organs are structures which are involved in this process. What are those processes? Process of ovulation. So the egg to enter into the uterus and the ovulation takes place. That process, and fusion of male and female gametes, and division of fertilized egg to form embryo. From the egg being fused and they get fertilized to form zygote, and later on embryo. For that processes, what are the organs involved? For a pregnancy, what are the organs involved? The development of fetus. So how the organs involved in the development of the baby or the fetus, and for the delivery of the childbirth, the organs that are involved. All these organs comes under secondary sex organs. Next, we are going to see about the male reproductive organs. So we saw the reproduction in plants. Next, we are going to see in humans. So first, we are taking the male reproductive organ. In that, we are taking a cross section of human testis. A testis is taken and a cross section is made. So cross section means the organism. It is for all the organism. The organism is taken and a cross section, a cut is made, and the all the anatomical parts are being found out. So like this only for all the organisms, plants and animals, the cross section is made and the parts are being labeled. So likewise for testis also the cross section is made. So here are the parts that are involved, that is being found. So first is the white curvy-like structure, that is the seminiferous tubule. So that only produces the sperms, the spermatozoa, the immature sperms are being developed. Then what happens? It flows through the straight tubule. After producing the sperms, it flows through the straight and a cavity, a empty space is present, a parietal layer. So that only covers the scrotum, which is going to be present above the testis. If you know the male reproductive system, then you would have heard the term scrotum. So this parietal layer covers that scrotum, and efferent ductules are present. So what happens? After passing through these straight ductules, they pass through the efferent ductules, and later on it is passed to epididymis, and finally it reaches the vas deferens. Through this only the sperms are being ejaculated, they are being released. So from seminiferous tubule it is being ejaculated through vas deferens, and visceral layer is present. So it is a covering for testes, for heart and various organs. This visceral layer is present. Likewise in testes also it is present. This capsule is present. So this capsule is a space where all the nerves and blood vessels are being flowed. So this is the place for capsule. So these are the structures of a human testis. Next we are moving on to the theory part. An oval shape, it lies outside the abdominal cavity in a sac-like structure called scrotum. So how the scrotum will be in oval shape. It lies outside the abdominal cavity and it is a sac-like structure called scrotum. So below the abdominal cavity only the scrotum is present. It is a sac-like structure. Next is testis is covered by a layer of tissue called tunica albugina. So what happens? Testis is being covered by a layer of tissue called tunica albugina. So this is a tissue layer. It's a covering for what? The testis, and many sets are formed from this layer. So many sets are being formed from this layer. Seta means what? Segments. They are being. This layer divides it, separates through this layer, this tunica albugina. It forms a septa from this layer and divides the testis. What happens? It divides the testis into segments like pyramidal lobes. So in pyramidal shape lobules, this layer is being separated. It separates all the organs. So what are the organs that are being separated by this tunica albugina? The seminiferous tubules and cells of Sertoli and Leydig cells are being present. So these are some of the parts that is being separated by this layer. So tunica albugina. So these are some of the parts present in tunica albugina and the characteristics. Next is spermatogenesis takes place in seminiferous tubules. Like I said before, the spermatogenesis is the production of spermatozoa. These sperms are being held in the seminiferous tubules. The Sertoli cells are the supporting cells. So they are the supporting cells. It is also present in the seminiferous tubules only. It supports the formation of spermatozoa. It provides nutrients for developing sperm. So for these small immature sperms, it gives nutrition. What the Sertoli cells give nutrition, and it supports the immature sperms to get mature. So these are the functions of seminiferous tubules and Sertoli cells. Next is Leydig cells. So the Leydig cells, they are polyhedral in shape. They are polyhedral in shape and they lie between the seminiferous tubules. So what happens? The seminiferous tubules are present. In between it, the Leydig cells will be present. And it secretes the testosterone. It secretes the testosterone. So what testosterone does? So that only reveals the male characters. If a boy is acting as a male, the male characteristics is being revealed by this testosterone. It is a hormone for male. So it is being secreted by this Leydig cells. The testosterone is secreted by the Leydig cells, and it initiates the process of spermatogenesis. For the production of spermatozoa, these sperms, what happens? This only initiates. It starts the production of spermatogenesis. So see, these are the functions of Leydig cells. And next is female reproductive organs. So we saw all the parts and functions of male reproductive organ. Next we are moving on to the female reproductive organ. So the ovaries are located on either side of the lower abdomen. So on the side of lower abdomen, on any of these sides, these ovaries are being present. So it is composed of two almond-shaped bodies. So two almonds mean what? The badam. Like the shape of the badam, two structures are being present. So they are near the lateral end of the fallopian. On the end of the fallopian tube, those both almond-like structures are present. So if you know the female reproductive organ, then you can get an idea about what I am saying. If you don't remember the structure of male and female reproductive organ, take the diagram and see once again. Then only you can understand the theory part. Okay. So I am going to give you a recap from the first. So here we saw the male reproductive organ. A cross section of human testis is being made. Then the vast difference is present that only ejaculates the sperms. How it travels from the seminiferous tubule, it produces the sperms through the straight tubule. The efferent tubule, it gets passed, and epididymis transports the sperm to vas deferens. And a cavity, empty space is present. A parietal layer for covering the scrotum is present. A visceral layer is present for covering the testis. The capsule is present for the place for blood vessels and nerve cells to pass. Efferent ductules are being present for the transport of sperms, and epididymis also is present. Then what happens? The scrotum is present. It is a oval shape and it lies outside the abdominal cavity, and it is like a sac-like structure. And the testis is being covered by a layer of tissue called tunica albuginea, and a septa. It forms a septa of layer, and it divides the testis into pyramidal lobes. Seminiferous tubules, cells of Sertoli and Leydig cells are being included under this layer of tissue, tunica albuginea, and spermatogenesis takes place in seminiferous tubules. The production of spermatozoa takes place in seminiferous tubules. The Sertoli cells take support and provide nutrients to the developing sperms. Next we are moving on to the Leydig cells. It is a polyhedral in shape and it lies between seminiferous tubules. They secrete testosterone, it is a male hormone, and it initiates the process of spermatogenesis, the production of spermatozoa or sperms. Next we move on to the female reproductive organ. Ovaries are located on either side of the lower abdomen, and it is composed of two almond-shaped bodies on both the sides, and near the end of the fallopian tube, these both almond-like structures are present. Now we are going to see about the structure of ovary. First we saw the structure of the testis. Now we are going to see the structure of ovary for the female reproductive system. So what is the first point? Each ovary consists of an outer cortex and inner medulla. So this ovary is made up of two layers. First is the outer cortex. So in the outer layer, the cortex is present, and in the inner layer, it is made up of medulla. So this cortex, it is composed of network of connective tissues called stroma. So what we saw here, the outer cortex, it is made up of a tissue called stroma. Cortex is made up of a tissue called stroma. So it is lined by a germinal epithelium. So over this stroma tissue, a lining is made. That is called as germinal epithelium. Germinal epithelium. Then the epithelial cells are called as granulosa cell. So this lining that is made over the inner cortex, it is known as granulosa cell, and it is surrounded by each ovum together the primary follicle. So what happens inside the ovary, many small ovules, that is the eggs, will be present. So it is made up of an outer and inner medulla. So that cortex is made up of a tissue, connective tissue called stroma, and this stroma is lined by a germinal epithelium. This germinal epithelium is called as granulosa cell. So this granulosa cell and the ovum is there and the granulosa lining is made. So together these are all called as primary follicle. Primary follicle. So primary follicle means you should know what is it. Then only you can learn the other terms also. Next we are moving on to the next point. Egg grows larger, follicle enlarges and gets filled with the fluid called Graafian follicle. So what happens? This ovum is present and this lining is present. Together it is called as primary follicle. So what happens? That ovum matures. As day passes, the ovum matures. So that follicle also enlarges and it gets filled by a fluid called Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. So next you can see the diagram here. It is the cross section of human ovary. We saw the cross section of testis. Next now we are going to see the cross section of human ovary. So here you can find the diagram. First you can start from here. This small structure, this round-like structure, this is the primary follicle. So we saw here that ovum which is lined with the granulosa cells are called primary follicle. So this primary follicle will contain immature small egg which is not being matured. So this primary follicle, later on what happens? Next it reaches this stage. This is the growing follicle. From this stage it develops to this stage, or layer is developed. It is growing. From the immature cell it is growing a little bit. Then after that it develops to this larger structure, and what happens? Finally the mature follicle stage has been reached. So from immature egg it is being matured. The mature follicle is formed. Then later on what happens? It ruptures. Ruptured follicle. So what happens? That egg after being matured, it just ruptures, it just bursts off and lets out the ovum. So here you can find the ovum. After being matured, it ruptures and forms the ovum. It lets out the ovum. Then what happens? This early corpus luteum. So early corpus luteum will contain the mature eggs, whereas primary follicle contains immature ovum, and corpus luteum only will contain the mature egg. So this is a gland. This corpus luteum, it is a gland that only regulates the menstrual cycle for every month. That only releases the hormones for the functioning, the monthly menstrual cycle. That only regulates this corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum is responsible for the menstrual cycle. Then what happens? Early corpus luteum, after it is being developed, and it forms the corpus luteum. So after being matured, fully matured, it lets out the ovum. So next what happens? Corpus albicans is present. So what happens? Think it is a covering like structure. Inside this corpus luteum only, this ovum will be present. Okay. So that only releases every month, every 28 days, it releases the ovum for the mature ovum it releases. So what happens after it is being developed? It lets out the ovum. Then what happens? A scar, a mark corpus luteum. So that since that ovum is mature ovum is present, after it has been left, what happens? A scar or mark is present. So that scar or mark is called as corpus albicans. Corpus luteum, after the mature ovum has been released, it will leave a scar that is called as corpus albicans. So next we are moving on to gametogenesis. Gametogenesis. From the term itself we can tell it is about the gametes, the male gamete, the female gamete. So we will see what is it. Formation of sperm in male and the ovum in female is called as gametogenesis. So gametes means what? In male gamete, the sperm is considered as the male gamete, and for the female gamete, the ovum is considered as the female gamete. That is the egg for female and sperm for male. So what happens? This formation of both the male gamete and female gamete is known as gametogenesis. Formation of gametes is called as gametogenesis. So it involves spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So formation of sperms is called as spermatogenesis and formation of ovum is called as oogenesis. So both the process, it involves the process of spermatogenesis as well as oogenesis. So that is only together called as gametogenesis. So you should know the meaning of the terms, then only you can understand and learn. You should know what is spermatogenesis, you should know what is oogenesis. So together it is called as gametogenesis. Gametes with haploid are produced through gametogenesis. So the gamete should be haploid. It should have n number. So n number gametes with haploid are produced through gametogenesis. So gametes that are being produced are haploid. It has n number of cells. So we have already discussed this about in reproduction fertilization. N number of gametes together form a diploid zygote. So n number gametes are n number. So the formation of haploid haploid gametes are called as gametogenesis. So these are the points under gametogenesis. So now I am going to tell a few info bits and extra information. So here the women will ovulate 300 to 400 times. So in the lifetime of a woman, the ovulation, the menstrual cycle, the maturation of egg inside the uterus. So that happens in a lifetime of a woman 300 to 400 times only. Totally they will have 1 to 2 million of eggs inside a woman. So when the woman is born, when the girl is born, girl baby is born, that eggs will be, that 1 to 2 million eggs will be present inside them only. At the birth itself, that eggs will be present inside this female only. Whereas if you see men, 500 billion sperms are present inside the women. In their in men, 500 billion sperms are present in their lifetime. So you can see the difference whereas in women it is 1 to 2 million eggs, for men it is 500 billion sperms. Next year, the number of primordial cells in female children is 7 million. So primordial cells are immature eggs, as we saw here, the primary follicle, which has the immature egg and the covering is present. So that primordial cells inside a woman, when they are born, the primordial cells will be 7 million. After they have attended the puberty, how many? It will be around 60,000 to 70,000 primordial cells. The immature eggs will be present inside them. At the birth, 7 million is present, but when they attain puberty, 60,000 to 70,000 primordial cells are present. So these are the extra information, the info bits mentioned in your book. Now I am going to give you a recap from the first. Listen carefully, children. So now we are going to see the structure of ovary. So it is made up of two layers, the outer cortex and the inner medulla. Then this cortex is composed of a tissue called stroma. Then it is lined by a germinal epithelium. These epithelial cells are called as granulosa cells, and it is surrounded by each ovum. This ovum and granulosa cell together called as primary follicle. So after maturation, the egg grows larger, the follicle also enlarges, and a fluid is being filled, that is called as Graafian follicle. So you can see the cross section of human ovary. First the primary ovary is present, then it grows, the growing follicle. First is the primary follicle, then the growing follicle, and later on it develops and the mature follicle has been reached. After that it ruptures and lets out the ovum. So next that enters the that will be present inside the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is nothing but it is a gland that regulates the menstrual cycle for women. So that earliest corpus luteum will develop into corpus luteum. After it has been released, after it releases the mature egg or ovum out, what happens? It leaves a scar, it leaves a mark inside it. So that is called as corpus albicans. So next we are going on to gametogenesis. So the formation of sperm in male and the formation of ovum in female is called as gametogenesis. It involves spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is nothing but formation of sperms, and oogenesis is nothing but the formation of ovum. So together called as gametogenesis. Gametes with haploid are produced through gametogenesis. So gametes which are haploid are produced through gametogenesis only. After learning about the gametogenesis, about the spermatogenesis and oogenesis, we are going to now learn the two gametes, the structure of two gametes. That is about the structure of sperm and the structure of ovum. So these two structures we are going to see them in detail. So first we are going to see the structure of sperm. So this is the structure of sperm. Here you can find a cone-like structure. In the tip it is called as acrosome and the outer head is called as head, and inside it the nucleus is present. On the neck region the mitochondria is present. So this structure of sperm, it has been divided into three regions. This is the head portion, the mid piece, and finally the tail. Head portion, mid piece, and the tail is present. So this is the structure of sperm. Next we are going to see about the theory part, about each of the parts present. So first is the spermatozoon consists of head, middle piece, and tail. As we saw here, it is consists of three regions, that is the head, the middle piece, and the tail. So the sperm head is elongated. So the sperm head is elongated. It is stretched and formed by the condensation of nucleus. Since the nucleus is condensed, it has been shrunk. So the sperm head has been elongated. So since the nucleus has been shrunk, the sperm head has been elongated. Next, the anterior portion has a cap-like structure called acrosome. So the anterior portion means the front portion. On the tip it has a cap-like structure. Cap-like structure called acrosome. So this is very sharp and narrow so that it can insert through the ovum or egg. For that only this acrosome is present on the tip. It contains a hyaluronidase. hyaluronidase. It is an enzyme and that helps sperm to enter ovum during fertilization. So during fusion, what happens? This hyaluronidase, it is an enzyme that will help the sperm to enter into the ovum during fertilization. So during fusion, it helps to sperm to enter. Then a short neck connects head and middle piece, which comprises the centrioles. A short neck is present. So a short neck will be present. It will connect this middle piece and head. A short neck will be present. So that is compressed in this end, that is called as the neck region, and it is made up of centrioles. It is made up of centrioles. Next is middle piece consists of mitochondria. So we saw in the diagram itself, this middle piece will have a spring-like structure and that is made up of mitochondria. So you would have learned in your lower classes itself the structure of cell. So you know each of the organelles of the cell and their function. So what mitochondria does, what is it is called as? It is called as the powerhouse of the cell. So it gives energy through ATP molecules. So likewise, what mitochondria does is, it provides energy for movement of tail. For this tail to move and for motility, for locomotion, for movement, this tail has to move. So for that, mitochondria gives energy. It is the powerhouse of the cell. So it gives energy for the movement of the tail and brings about sperm motility, which is essential for fertilization. So for fusion, what happens? The sperm has to reach the ovum. It has that only has to move and come and reach the ovum. So motility, movement is needed. So for that, the energy is given by the mitochondria. So the tail will move and it will move. As since the tail is moving, the locomotion, the movement takes place and fusion takes place. So it is essential. Then only fertilization takes place. So that only the mitochondria is present in the middle piece. So that's all for the structure of sperm. Next, we are moving on to the female gamete, the structure of ovum. So here you can find the mature ovum structure, and it is surrounded by a layer called corona radiata. Corona radiata, and a layer is present, that is the plasma membrane. First on the outer corona radiata is present and the plasma membrane is present. Then the nucleus is present inside the cell, and what happens? The cytoplasm is filled with cytoplasm around the nucleus. The cytoplasm has been filled, and in between the two layers of plasma membrane, zona placida is present. So this is the structure of ovum. So mature ovum, it will be in spherical shape. It will be in spherical shape. It is free of yolk. So egg means, you know, for hen's egg and all, in ostrich egg. So usually in the eggs you will find the yolk in the center. But whereas for human egg, the yolk is not present. Only a little amount may be present, but mostly it is free of yolk. And abundant cytoplasm is present. So here itself you can find around the nucleus, it is fully filled with the cytoplasm. It is a jelly-like substance. And the nucleus is present. The nucleus is present. Then this ovum has 3 layers. So this ovum is covered by 3 layers. First is the corona radiata. On the outer layer, the corona radiata is present, and the plasma membrane is present. So this plasma membrane is enclosed by the 3rd layer called zona pellucida. Zona pellucida. So what happens? The outer corona radiata and the plasma membrane, 2 layers of plasma membrane are present, and in the middle you can find zona pellucida. Then next is corona radiata forms the follicle cells. So follicle cells are that contains the primary follicle are that contains the immature egg with the granular cells. So I told you before. So likewise this corona radiata only forms the follicle cells and a vitelline membrane is present. Vitelline membrane is present. Then what happens? This fluid filled between zona pellucida and the surface of egg is known as perivitelline space. Perivitelline space. So, the space between the plasma membrane and zona plasta, this gap is known as the perivitelline space. So, the space between plasma membrane and the surface of the egg, and plasma membrane and the zona pellucida. That is only the plasma membrane only is called as the surface of the egg. So, space between plasma membrane and zona pellucida is known as perivitelline space. So, vitelline membrane it is a covering. It is a covering layer. So, now I will give you a recap from the first. First, we saw the structure of sperm. This is the structure of sperm. On the tip anterior side, we have the acrosome. Then the head is present. Inside the head, the nucleus is present. On the middle piece region, the mitochondria is present. So, it is of three regions: the head region, midpiece, and the tail is present. Spermatozoon consists of head, middle piece and tail. Sperm head is elongated and it is formed by the condensation of nucleus. It is elongated, it is formed due to the condensation of nucleus. Then on the anterior portion, a cap-like structure called acrosome is present and it contains an hyaluronidase. It is an enzyme which helps the sperm to enter into the ovum during fertilization. A short neck connects head and the middle piece. It is composed of centrioles and the middle piece contains the mitochondria. That mitochondria only gives energy for movement of the tail. It brings about the sperm motility, that is the movement, which is essential for fertilization. So next is structure of ovum. On the outer side we have the corona radiata and the cytoplasm is present. The nucleus is present in the center. The plasma membrane has been enclosed and in the center of the plasma membrane the zona pellucida is present. So it is in the mature ovum will be spherical in shape. It is free of yolk and abundant cytoplasm and a nucleus is present. Ovum has three layers: the plasma membrane, the corona radiata and the zona pellucida are present. Then the corona radiata forms the follicle cells, the immature eggs, and a vitelline membrane is present. Fluid filled with zona pellucida and surface of the egg. The fluid filled between the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane is called as perivitelline space. Now we are going to see about puberty. Next we saw the gametogenesis about sperm, we saw about the ovary, we saw ovum, we saw all these things, we saw all the organ. Now we are going to see the changes that are happening in human. First is the puberty. So during puberty only this reproductive system becomes functional. So after puberty only the reproductive system is being matured, it is ready for reproduction. The stage has come to indicate that only the puberty is happening. Then it increases the sex hormone. So inside the human body what happens? The puberty will increase in the sex hormones. So first puberty happens in both male and female. So the reproductive system becomes more functional during puberty and more sex hormones are present. In female, it is a bit earlier than male. Then we'll see the age group now. For boys, it will take around 13 to 14 years puberty. For girls, it is 11 to 13 years. Next, secretion of hormones. Now we are going to see about the hormone secretion. What are the hormones secreted in boys and girls? For boys, it is testosterone. So it is released by the testes. It is a male hormone, the testosterone. For female, for girls, it is estrogen and progesterone from the ovary. So it is produced from the ovary. These are the two hormones, the estrogen and progesterone. So next we are going to see the next point. Hormone secretion is controlled by pituitary gonadotropins luteinizing hormone. So this is the name of the hormones, the glands that are present. So the pituitary gonadotropin luteinizing hormones LH. So the hormone secretion are controlled by these two hormones only. What are those? Pituitary gonadotropin luteinizing hormones LH and follicle stimulating hormone FSH. So these are the two types of hormones that controls the hormone secretion. Next is the menstrual cycle. So reproductive period of female. The reproductive period of female is called as menstrual cycle. It starts from the age of 11 to 13 years of girls. Then the onset of puberty. So the starting of puberty is known as menarche and it stops around the age 48 to 15 years. So that is called as menopause. The starting of the puberty is called as menarche and it stops around 48 to 50 years and it is called as menopause. Then the reproductive period takes place for every 28 days for a normal woman. So what happens? The reproductive period. So every 28 days the cycle will repeat for all the women. So what happens? We learn what is egg. The structure of ovary, if you remember, means what happens after it is being fully matured, the corpus luteum lets out. Then after that only the menstrual cycle, the period takes place. So it takes place for every 28 days for a normal woman. Then the menstrual cycle has 4 phases. First is the menstrual or destructive phase. Second is the follicular or proliferative phase. Then the ovulatory phase and luteal phase. So these are the 4 phases. I will tell what are those in the next code in detail. Next is, so these phases show simultaneous synchrony of events in both uterus and ovary. So each phase changes will happen. The same changes only will happen in each of the phases. So it will happen in both uterus and ovary at a time. So that is what is mentioned. In each phase different type of changes happens. Every month the same changes only happens in both ovary and uterus. Next is changes in the ovary and uterus are induced. So we saw in these 4 phases the changes will happen. So it is induced by certain hormones. What are those? We'll see. The pituitary hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. So these are the 2 hormones we saw here. We saw here the hormone secretion is controlled by the pituitary gonadotropin luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. So the pituitary is present in the center of the head. So that only will release the hormones for various functions. So for the menstrual cycle, for the each phase, this changes in the ovary and uterus. For those changes, the 4 phases has to happen. For that, hormones are needed. These are the two hormones. So they are called as pituitary hormone. Why? Because it is produced from the pituitary gland. So that is why it is called as follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Next is the ovarian hormone, the estrogen and progesterone. The estrogen and progesterone. So they are produced in the ovary, in the reproductive organ, female reproductive organ itself. So they are called as ovarian hormone. So these are the two types of hormone that controls, that brings about changes in the each phase. That's all for female period. Then next I am going to give you a recap from the first. First we saw what is puberty. It is the reproductive system becomes functional during puberty and an increasing sex hormone takes place. It is earlier in female than male. For boys it is 13 to 15 years. For girls it is 11 to 13 years. Then the secretion of hormones for boys, testosterone from testes is being secreted and estrogen and progesterone is secreted in the ovary. Next is hormone secretion is controlled by pituitary gonadotropin luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. So these are the two hormones that controls the hormone secretion. Then menstrual cycle, the reproductive period of a female is called as menstrual cycle. It starts from the age of 11 to 13 years. The starting of the puberty is called as menarche and it stops around 14 to 50 years and it is called as menopause. So reproductive period takes place every 28 days for a normal woman repeatedly. The menstrual cycle has four phases. First is the menstrual or destructive phase, then the follicular or proliferative phase and the ovulatory phase and luteal phase. So these are the phases that show simultaneous changes every month, synchrony of events in both uterus and ovary. So changes in the ovary and uterus are induced by the pituitary hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone, and ovarian hormone, the estrogen and progesterone. We saw what is menstrual cycle and what happens, what are the changes and what are the hormones involved in that. Now we are going to see the four phases, like I already told you, we will see in detail the four phases and what change happens in ovary and what change happens in uterus and the changes that are happening, the hormonal changes. So those changes for each of the phases we are going to see now. First is the menstrual phase. So it takes around 4 to 5 days. During that, what happens inside the ovary? The primary follicle. So if you remember the cross section of ovary, then you know the development of primary follicles, the immature ovum, that will be developed during which phase? Menstrual phase. So the breakdown of, in uterus what happens? The breakdown of uterine endometrial lining. So inside the, if you remember, for this you have to see the cross section of ovary. For this you have to see the female reproductive system. So what happens? A lining is present in the female reproductive system. That is called as uterine endometrium. So this uterine endometrium lining will break off and a bleeding. The blood flow it leads to blood flow. So when this endometrium lining breaks off, the blood comes. So that is only cause bleeding during menstrual cycle. Whereas in hormones, if you see, there is a decrease in progesterone. The ovarian hormones, that is the progesterone and egesterone, has been decreased. Then next is the follicular phase. Follicular phase. So this happens around the 6th to 13th day. So in between these days only the follicular phase takes place. So in the ovary, what happens? The primary follicle grow to become mature Graafian follicle. What happens? the immature ovum containing primary follicle, it enlarges and fluid has been filled. The follicle also enlarges and forms the Graafian follicle. So it develops. If you see the diagram, you will remember for the cross section of ovary. Then what happens in the uterus? The endometrium regenerates through proliferation. So they regenerate. They again form. After the breakdown for around 4 to 5 days, it regenerates again. The lining forms again. So for the hormonal changes of the follicle stimulating hormone and progesterone, these both hormones are being increased. Why follicle stimulating hormone? Because the follicle is being developed. For that we need follicle stimulating hormone. So the FSH and estrogen are increasing. Then next is the third phase, which is the ovulatory phase. Ovulatory phase. It happens on the 14th day. So during this 14th day, what happens? The Graafian follicle ruptures and release the ovum. So you see the diagram, you will remember. It will rupture and the ovum will get released. So that change is happening in ovulatory phase. In uterus, what happens? Increase in endometrial thickness. So what happens? That lining has been formed in the which phase? The follicular phase, and after that the thickness is increasing. It regenerates and the thickness of the lining is increasing. Then during this phase, the luteinizing hormone will be at the peak. It will be at a very high level. Then the last phase is the luteal phase. The luteal phase. It happens between the 15th to 28th day. So what happens in the ovary? After the ovum has been released and the empty follicle is present, it develops into corpus luteum. It develops into corpus luteum. Then if you remember this, the corpus albicans will be present. So now we move on to the tabulation. After the empty Graafian follicle develops into corpus luteum during luteal phase. So you have to interconnect everything. So everything is happening inside the human body only. Everything is happening within the body only. So all are being connected. If you correlate everything and study, then you will remember everything. So next is the changes in the uterus. Next in the uterus, what happens? The endometrium thickness is being thickness is happened. Then what happens? The endometrium prepared for implantation. So it is ready for fusion now. The thickening has been made. So during fusion, what happens? The endometrium thickening should be very thick. So if fusion takes place, if the sperm comes and fusion takes place, the baby will start to form. For that only the endometrium lining is present. For the formation of baby only, the endometrium lining is present. So it will wait that matured ovum will wait for fusion. Then what happens if it does not come, if the sperm does not reach, what happens? If fertilization does not take place, then the corpus luteum also they degenerate. Corpus luteum degenerate and the uterine wall will rupture. This endometrium wall is thickened. No, so that also will rupture and bleeding. The blood flow will start and the fertilized egg also will expel. So the matured egg will be present. It will wait for how many hours? For around 24 hours. It will wait for fusion. When no sperm comes, everything ruptures and the blood flow will come. Next is the hormonal change. The luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone will decrease. So during the bleeding time, the level of the hormone will decrease and corpus luteum produce progesterone, and in this level increased followed by decline of menstrual outputs. If menstrual outputs, so what happens? The luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone will decrease. Then the corpus luteum will produce progesterone and progesterone. So I told you corpus luteum is a gland. So what happens? It decreases, and during a waiting period, it is in decrease. It is in increased state. So if bleeding occurs, what happens? That hormone level also will decrease. So these are the 4 phases, and their changes in ovary, changes in uterus, and hormonal changes. Next, we are moving on to fertilization. So what is fertilization in human? Fertilization in human is internal. So it occurs internally. The fertilization, the fusion of male and female gamete occurs internally. Next, it occurs in the oviduct of the female genital tract. So it occurs in the oviduct. Oviduct is nothing but the fallopian tube. If you know the female reproductive system, you know the tube that is present, that will hold on to the ovaries present. So that tube is called as the fallopian tube or oviduct. So there only this fertilization occurs. It takes place in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. Ampulla means it is the broadest part of the fallopian tube. So there only the fertilization takes place. Oocyte is alive for 20 hours. So I told you before, the mature egg will wait for fusion for 24 hours for the fusion. If nothing happens, everything will degenerate and it will come as bleeding. So the oocyte will be alive for 24 hours after it is released from the follicle. So after getting matured and it ruptures and comes out, it will be alive for 24 hours after it is being released from the follicle. Then fertilization should take place within 24 hours. So the fertilization should be taking place within 24 hours. Sperm enter the ovum and fertilizes to form zygote. So within this 24 hours, when the sperm comes and they fuse and fertilize, they form a zygote. This process, the fusion is called as fertilization. Then zygote is called as, this fertilized zygote is called as the ovum. So that's all for fertilization. Now I will give you a short recap from the first. So first we saw the 4 phases of menstrual cycle. First is the menstrual phase, the follicle phase, ovulatory phase and luteal phase. For menstrual phase, it happens between 4 to 5 days. The primary follicle will develop, and in the uterus, the uterine endometrial lining will break off and bleeding takes place. Then in hormones, the progesterone and egesterone will decrease. The second phase is the follicular phase. It happens between 16th to 13th day. The primary follicle will grow and become the Graafian follicle. The endometrium will regenerate through proliferation, and follicle stimulating hormone and estrogen will increase. Then the third is the ovulatory phase. It happens on the 14th day. Graafian follicle ruptures and they release the ovum or egg. Increase in endometrial thickening. The luteinizing hormone will be at the peak. Then the last is the luteal phase. 15th to 28th day, the empty Graafian follicle develops into a corpus luteum. Endometrium will be prepared for implantation. If nothing happens, fertilization does not happen, corpus luteum degenerate, uterine wall also ruptures, and bleeding starts. Unfertilized egg also is expelled. Luteinizing and follicle stimulating hormone will decrease, and corpus luteum will produce progesterone and egesterone. When no fertilization takes place, that level also, progesterone, egesterone level also will decline. Then next we saw what is fertilization. The fertilization in human is internal. It occurs in the oviduct, the fallopian tube of the female genital tract. It takes place in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. That is the broader portion of the fallopian tube. oocyte, the mature egg, is alive for 24 hours after it has been released from the follicle. Fertilization should take place within 24 hours. Sperm enters the ovum and they fertilize to form a zygote, and this process is called as fertilization. The zygote that has been fertilized is called as the fertilized ovum. The last topic we saw was about fertilization, that is fertilization to fetal development. From the fusion of gametes, what happens? Fertilization happens to the fetal development, how a baby, a whole baby, human baby is formed. So that stages we are going to see now. So we already saw what is fertilization, that is distribution of male and female gametes, and finally what happens? A fertilized ovum is produced. And what happens? The next stage after fertilization is cleavage and formation of blastula. Cleavage and formation of blastula. So cleavage, what happens? Separation takes place and a blastula is formed. So cleavage takes place after 30 hours of fertilization. So what happens? The separation takes place after 30 hours of fertilization. After the fusion, after 30 hours, what happens? The separation, cleavage takes place. A series of rapid mitotic division. Rapid means very faster mitotic division. Mitosis takes place in the zygote, forming a mini cell blastula. So what happens? It divides faster, mitosis takes place faster, and it forms into a mini cell called blastula. Then what happens? How these many cells will be, how they will be, the outer layer will be very small cells. It will be comprised of small cells, and in the inner area large cells will be present. So this is how the blastula will be present. Next is implantation. After formation of blastula, what happens? Implantation takes place. Blastocyst reaches the uterus and gets implanted. So blastocyst is nothing but this many cell blastula is called as blastocyst. So what happens? This many cells, after dividing faster the zygote into many cells, what happens? It reaches the uterus and they get reimplanted, they get fixed to the uterus, and implantation takes place 6 to 7 days after fertilization. So after the fusion, 6 to 7 days, what happens? The implantation gets divided and it gets fixed in the uterus. And next is the gastrulation. Formation of blastula into gastrula. So gastrulation means what? From blastula, how it is converted into gastrula. So formation of primary germ layer is called gastrulation. So germ layer, a layer is formed. Primary germ layer is formed. That formation only is called as gastrulation. So this gastrulation takes place after the implantation. So after it gets fixed to the uterus, this gastrulation, this formation of primary germ layer takes place after the implantation. So in each step you have to compare the before step. Then only you will know the continuity of each stages. So how from fertilization the fetal has been developed. So you should compare and learn. Next is organogenesis. Establishment of germ layers initiates the final phase of embryonic development. So what happens? Once the germ layers is getting developed, it will reach the final phase of embryonic development. Then what happens? Various organs from germ layers are established attaining functional state. So what happens in the gastrulation process? We saw a primary germ layer is formed. Now what happens from this germ layer, many organs will be produced and it will reach a functional state, means it will start to function its own. For example, if you take heart, after it has been developed, it will start beating, it will start doing its activity, its function. So that is what is called attaining a functional state. So from the germ layers, the organs will develop and it will establish a functional state and formation of placenta, and finally the placenta is formed. So it is a disc-shaped structure attached to the uterine wall. So this placenta is a disc-shaped structure and it will be attached to the wall. So if you have seen the picture of a baby attached to the womb, you will below you will find a bed-like structure over the baby. So that bed-like structure is called as uterine wall. So what happens? There only this placenta will be present. It will be in disc-shaped structure and temporary association with developing embryo and maternal tissue. So a temporary attachment or temporary association or relationship between the developing embryo and maternal tissue. So it will be a temporary. It will connect this placenta will connect the developing embryo and maternal tissue and allows exchange of food, diffusion of oxygen, excretion of nitrogen waste, and eliminates CO2. So what it does? This placenta does many activities. So it exchanges the food between to the baby from the womb to the baby, and it diffuses the oxygen and excretion of the waste materials excretion, and it eliminates CO2. So these are the activities done by the placenta. And a tube-like structure containing blood vessels. So the tube contains blood vessels and it connects the placenta with fetus is called umbilical cord. So what we get? A cord or tube-like structure. Imagine inside that the blood vessels are present to the placenta and the fetus and the baby. From the placenta to the baby, a tube has been connected. It will contain blood cells and that cord is called as umbilical cord. So in Tamil they will say Topul Kodi. So that is only called as umbilical cord. So we saw the functions of placenta. What it does? It transports. It is a bridge to connect the fetus, to give oxygen, to give food. It is the bridge to connect the baby and the womb. So that is only the function of placenta, and finally the placenta is done. So we will see from the first. I will give you a short recap. So we saw the fertilization to fetal developmental stages. First, before that we saw what is fertilization. Finally, the final stage of fertilization, a fertilized ovum will be produced. After that, cleavage and formation of blastula takes place. So this cleavage separation takes place after 30 hours of fertilization. A series of rapid mitotic division of zygote takes place. It forms a mini-celled blastula, and that blastula has an outer layer of smaller cells and inner layer of larger cells. And next is implantation. This many-celled blastula is called as blastocyst. It reaches the uterus and gets implanted. That implantation will take place after 6 to 7 days of fertilization. And the next stage is gastrulation. Transformation of blastula into gastrula is called as gastrulation. The formation of primary germ layer is called as gastrulation. After the implantation of the gastrulation takes place. And next is organogenesis. So organogenesis is nothing but formation of organs. The establishment of germ layers initiates the final phase of embryonic development. When the germ layer is getting developed, what happens? It has reached the final phase of embryonic development. The various organs form from the germ layers, and it reaches the functional state, and finally formation of placenta. It is a disc-shaped structure. It is attached to the uterine wall, a temporary association with the developing embryo, that is the baby, and the maternal tissue, and it allows exchange of food. What allows? The placenta allows exchange of food, diffusion of oxygen, excretion of nitrogenous waste, and eliminates the carbon dioxide. And a cord is being developed. It contains blood vessels. It connects the placenta with the fetus, and that is called as umbilical cord. Next, after the formation of placenta, the pregnancy is being happening. So what happens? The placenta is developed for food exchange, oxygen diffusion, for excretion and all. The embryo, it has certain environment. So after that, it has to develop. So that period is called as pregnancy period. The time period during which the embryo attains its development. The time taken for the embryo to develop is called as pregnancy. So 280 days, the embryo will take 280 days for development, the whole development, and that time period is called as gestation period. So during this development, what happens? The uterus expands to 500 times. So from its original size, it expands to 500 times. Then next is parturition. So parturition means is the delivery pain and the process of how the baby comes out. See, the expulsion of young one from the mother's uterus. So the baby comes out, the expulsion, letting out of young one from the mother's uterus is known as parturition. And what happens during this time? Oxytocin, a hormone from the posterior pituitary gland, is let out. So that what it does, it contracts the uterus so that the baby comes out, and force to expel the baby, causing birth. So a force being expelled or applied, and what happens? The baby comes out. So this comes under parturition. And next, after the baby has been born, what happens? It has to feed. No, it has to get food. So that is mentioned under lactation. Lactation means giving milk to the baby. Process of milk production after the childbirth from the mammary glands of mother is called as lactation. So what happens? The process of milk, the production of milk for the after the childbirth. So after the child has been born, what happens? Inside the mother, the milk production takes place. So from the mammary glands of the mother. So that is called as lactation. So the first fluid released from the mammary gland after the childbirth is known as colostrum. So the first fluid coming from the mammary gland after the birth of the child is known as colostrum. Milk production from alveoli of mammary gland is stimulated by prolactin from the anterior pituitary. So what happens? The milk production from the alveoli will be, it is a small bag-like structure which will be present inside the mammary glands of the mother. So this milk production is being stimulated by the hormone called prolactin, where under the how it develops from the anterior pituitary gland. So this pituitary gland only, anterior pituitary gland only produces the prolactin so that the milk production takes place. So you should remember all these names: prolactin from anterior pituitary, and here we saw oxytocin from posterior pituitary. So you have to learn all the hormonal names, then only you will be clear about what the concept is. So after that, the milk has been produced due to prolactin, and ejection milk has to come out. That is stimulated by the posterior pituitary hormone called oxytocin. Posterior pituitary called. So the milk has been produced by the prolactin from anterior pituitary, and the milk has been ejected out by the posterior pituitary hormone by the oxytocin hormone. So these all comes under fetal development, fertilization from a small ovum, how a baby is being developed and how it is getting feeded. So these are all come under fertilization to fetal development. Now I will give you a short recap from the first. We saw about pregnancy, the time period during which embryo attains its development, and what happens when 280 days takes place. That time period is called as gestation period. The uterus expands to 500 times. Next, parturition takes place. Expulsion of young one from the mother's uterus. Oxytocin from posterior pituitary stimulates uterine contraction, force to expel the baby causing birth, and lactation takes place after the baby has been born. Process of milk production after childbirth from mammary glands of mother is called as lactation. First fluid released from the mammary gland after childbirth is called as colostrum. Then milk production from alveoli of mammary gland is stimulated by the prolactin hormone from anterior pituitary, and injection of milk stimulated by posterior pituitary hormone called oxytocin. So the next part will be given in the next video. Thank you, children.